So, if you don't know, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Brianka J, and I'm your host where we talk all things books, literature, analysis. And this is a great place to stop if you happen to be like an English major in college, an English professor, or just a literary nerd. You might as well just hit that subscribe button now, because this is where it all goes down, people. Yes. So if you've never been here before, welcome. If you've been here before, what it do? What's up? How you feeling? Glad to see you back. Make sure as you're on this video, you comment, like, and subscribe if you love my story times with Zora Neale Hurston. I've done a number of these now, and what I'm noticing is people really, really enjoy them, and that is awesome to me. I'm sorry, I want to close the bathroom door because that's weird to me. Alright, so what I'm noticing is people love the story times when I do Zora Neale Hurston works, and I actually have her books. So why I was reading from my phone, I don't know. But I have her book, and I'm going to share a short story with all of you. Before that, though, I do want to invite you to check out the description box. It is full to the brim with so much information, including how to connect with me online, whether it be Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever it is that you like to connect through. My links are there to find me. Also, if you are interested in reading short stories by me, I have a whole website dedicated to where my short stories are stored. And then there is also the I'm so sorry. There is just like analysis, my books, where I sell my books at. And then, of course, if you want a website, I do create websites for small businesses, so I can also help you there. I don't know why I started having like a mental fart. All types of thoughts started coming to the forefront of my mind, including, did I reinstate my domain name, which is crazy. I have to make sure to do that, so remind me. Alright, so we've read a number of these already, so I'm going to pick one just at random, because, like, why not, right? She's written a collection of wonderful works during the Harlem Renaissance, so I really don't think we can go wrong with any of them. And so I'm actually just going to pick this one called The Country and the Woman. No, don't get mad at me, y'all. Remember, I've never read this before, so if you don't like it, I'm sorry, but we'll discuss it afterwards. Look at here, Caroline. You ought to stop this here foolishness you got. You's in New York now. You ain't down in Florida. That's just what I say. You can get a woman out the country, but you can't get a country out the woman. The woman, Caroline Potts, in sloppy clothes and rundown shoes, was standing arrogantly akimbo at 7th Avenue and 134th Street. She was standing between her husband, Mitchell Potts, and a woman, heavy-built and stylish in the Lenox Avenue way. The woman was easing on down 134th Street, away from the threatening black eyes of Caroline. Mitchell wanted to vanish too, but his wife was blocking his way. He didn't know whether to run, to fight, or to cajole, for Caroline was as temperamental as Mercury. Nobody ever knew how she would take things. Back in the Florida village from which they had migrated, Caroline Potts and her doings were the chief topics of conversation. Whatever she did was original. Mitchell was always having a side gal, and Caroline was always catching him. No one besides her husband believed that she was jealous. She had an uncultivated sense of humor. She enjoyed the situation. Men and women behave so queerly when caught red-handed at anything. Sometimes, when they expected a fight, she laughed and passed on. Sometimes, she thought out ingenuous, embarrassing situations and engineered the two into them, with all the cruelty of the rural. Her body was wiry and tough as nails, and she could hold up her end of the argument anytime in a rough and tumble with her husband. So, he couldn't hope to settle things that way. All these things were in Mitchell's mind as he faced her on 7th Avenue. He saw a number of people crowding around them, and he was eager to be going. Let's just go on home, Caroline. You wasn't headed that way when I met you. Yes, I was too. I just walked a piece of the way with Lucy Taylor. You didn't walk enough pieces with that woman to carry you back down home. Mitchell caught her arm cajolingly. Aw, come on. These are here folks is all standing around trying to get into mine and your business. She permitted herself to be led. But before she moved, she let out. Maybe that hussy thinks she's a big hen's bitty, but she don't lay no gobbler eggs. She might be a big cigar, but I sure can't smoke her. The very next time she gets in my way, I'll kick her clothes up around her neck like a horse collar. She'll think lightning struck her all right now. All of which was pretty delectable to the ears of the crowd on the street, but pizzing to Mitchell. He led her away to their flat in Caribbean 40s with as much anxiety as he had been so much. Trinitro, I don't know that word, y'all. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. There she was, as calm as if nothing had happened, and cooked him a fine dinner, which they still spoke of at supper. After which, she felt encouraged to read her a lecture on getting the country out of the woman. Listen, Caroline, you oughtn't act like you did today. Folks up here don't run after their husbands and carry on because they sees him swapping a few jokes with another woman. You ain't down in the basement no more. You's in New York. Swapping jokes. So you trying to jerk the wool over my eyes? New York? You the same guy you was down home. You ain't one bit different. You ain't nothing changed but your clothes. How come you don't get yourself some more? I sure is tired of that way down in Dixie looking you totes. Who, me? Huh. I ain't studying about all these all front and no back colored folks up in Harlem. I toast the cash on my hip. Don't try to get away from the subject. You better give me that woman if you ain't. You better give me that woman if you don't want no trouble out of me. I ain't nobody's fool. Mitchell jumped to his feet. You ain't going to show off on me in Harlem like you used to down home. Carry on and cutting the fool. I'll take my fist to you. Yes, and if you do, I'll up with my fist and lam you so hard you'll lay an egg. Don't you get me mad, Mitchell Potts. Well, then you stop running down women like Lucy Taylor. She's a nice woman. You just keep her name out your mouth. Fact is, you ought to be made to beg her pardon. Caroline turned from dishpan very coolly. That was just it. Nothing seemed to stir her up. Even her anger seemed unemotional, a pretense, the effort of a good performer. I let Lucy Taylor go home today and didn't lay the weight of my hand on her. So her egg bag ought to rest easy. But don't you know her try to bulldoze me, because if you do, you'll meet your mammy drunk. I ain't gonna talk no more. They went to bed that night full of feelings. No one could know what the paradoxical Caroline has doing inside her. But all who ran might read the heart of Mitchell. His body was warm for Lucy Taylor with all the ardor of a new affair. Caroline's encounter had aroused his protective instinct too. Moreover, he was mad clear through because his vanity was injured. All by this dark brown lump of country contrariness that was lying beside him in a yellow homespun nightgown. He wanted to feel his fist crashing against her jaw and forehead and see her hitting the floor time after time. But he knew he couldn't win that way. She was too tough. Every one of their battles had ended in a draw. He thought to two of the side gals he had down in Florida, and how his wife had not only worsted them, but had made them all, and him, low, foolish. One, Daisy Miller. He had bought her shoes, that with all rural ladies of pleasure crave. And Caroline had found out and had become out to a picnic where Daisy was fluttering triumphantly and had forced her to remove the shoes before everybody and walk back to town barefoot. while Caroline rode comfortably along in her buckboard with a rawhide whip dangling significantly from a masculine fist. Daisy was laughed out of town. Delphine Hicks, number 2. Caroline had waited for her beside the church steps on one first Sunday, big meeting day. He had thrown her to the ground and robbed the abashed vampire of her underthings. Billowy clothes were the fashion. In addition, Delphine was large. Caroline had seen fit to have her pony make the homeward trip with its hindquarters thrust into Delphine's ravished clothes. 3. She had removed a hat from the head of Della Clark and had cleared her throat raucously and spat into it. She had then forced Della to put it back upon her head and wear it all during the big Oddfellows barbecue and log rolling. Mitchell thought and his heart hardened. Everybody in the country cut the fool over husbands and wives. Violence was the rule. But he was in New York, and he just let her start something. Mitchell had changed. He loved Caroline in a way, but he wanted his fling too. The country had cramped his style, but Harlem was big. Caroline couldn't keep up with him here. He looked the big town and tried hard to act it. After work, he affected 7th Avenue corners in the man-about-town air. Silk Shebas, too. No cotton underwear for him. Time went past in weekly chunks, and Caroline said nothing more. And so Mitchell decided she had forgotten. He told the men at work about it, and they all laughed and confessed the same sort of affairs. But they all added that their wives paid no attention. Man, you ought to make her stop that foolishness. She's up north now. Make her know it. Mitchell felt vindicated and saw Lucy Taylor with greater frequency. Much silk underwear passed under the bridge, and there was a talk of a fur coat for Thanksgiving. But he had ceased to meet her on 134th Street. They switched to 132nd between 7th and Lenox. Whenever they passed his friends before the pool room at 132nd and 7th, the men acted wisely, unknowing Caroline would never find out through them, surely. One Saturday, near the middle of November, late in the afternoon, Mitchell strolled into the pool room in the Lafayette building with a natural muskrat cut coat over his arm. "Hi, Mitch," a friend hailed him. "I see you got the herb with you. Must be putting it over on you lifetime loudspeaker. You talking out of turn, big boy. Come on inside." They went out onto the sidewalk. "Say, Mitch, I didn't know you had it in you. You're a real big timer. What's become of your wife lately?" Mitchell couldn't resist the little swagger after the admiration in his friend's voice. He held up the coat for inspection. "Smoke it over, kid. What you think of it? Set me back 100 smackers, that." "Boy, it's there. Wife or your sweet stuff?" "You know, it's for Lucy. That wife of mine don't need no coat like this. But man, I sure done tamed her. She don't dare stick her paddle in my boat no more. Then got some of that country out of her." "I'm glad to hear that, 'cause there ain't no more like her nowheres. Nah, sir. Folks like her come one at a time, like lawyer going to heaven." "Well, any of them would cool down after I massage their jaw with my African soup bone. Yes, sir. I knocks them into good humor." Mitchell lied boldly. "Here come Lucy now. Oh boy, she sure is propaganda. I'll say she's red hot. She just want don't for the red light." She came up smiling coyly as she noticed, in the order of their importance to her, the new fur coat, Mitchell's nifty suit, and Mitchell. "Well, so long, Tweety. See you in the funny papers." "So long, Mitch. I'll pick you up off the junk pile." Lucy and the Fairbank Mitchell strolled off down 132nd Street. It was nearly sundown and the sidewalk was becoming crowded. About 20 minutes later, the loungers were amazed to see a woman on 7th Avenue strolling leisurely along with an axe over her shoulder. Tweety recognized Caroline and grew cold. Somehow, she had found out and was in pursuit. with an axe. He grew cold with fear for Mitchell, but he hadn't the least idea which of the brownstone fronts hid the lovers. He tried to stop Caroline with conversation. "Howdy do, Mrs. Potts. Going to chop some wood?" Very unemotionally. "I expect so." "Ha ha. You forgot you ain't back down south, don't you?" "Nope. They would to be chopped up north too." And she passed on, leaving the corner agog. Somebody ought to have stopped her. That female clodhopper is going to split Mitchell's head, and he's a good scout. We ought to call the police. Somebody ought to overtake her and take that axe away. Who, for instance? So it rested there. No one felt like trying to take an axe from Caroline. She went on, and they waited, full of anxiety. A few minutes later, they saw her returning just as leisurely, her wiry frame wrapped in the loose folds of a natural muskrat coat. Over her shoulder, like a Roman lictor, she bore the axe, and from the head of it hung the trousers of Mitchell's natty suit, the belt buckles clacking a little in the breeze. It was nearly 5 weeks, long after Thanksgiving, before the corner saw Mitchell again, and then he seemed a bit shy and diffident. "Say, Mitch, where you been so long? And how's your sweet stuff making it?" Lucy, I ain't seen her since the last time." "How come? Y'all ain't mad?" "Nah, it's that wife of mine. I can't get the country out that woman. Let's go somewhere and get a drink." So that's the story of Caroline Potts, I guess. Caroline and Mitchell are silly, I think. So this story is called The Country and the Woman. And this woman took cheating into her own hands and handled the matter like a woman of the South. Tell me, what do y'all think of that story? What do y'all think of Miss Caroline Potts and her axe? And what do you think about Mitchell and Miss Lucy Taylor? Let me know in the comments, and I look forward to talking to you guys soon. It is always a pleasure when I get to be here. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe if you want more videos like this. And in addition to that, make sure you check the description box. It is tons of good stuff in there, and I want to share it with you. It's been real, and it's been such a pleasure, and I'll see you next time. My name's Brianka J. I'm your host. You be safe.